Morning traders, this is BearBullTrading with a live trading video from Monday the 20th of April, sorry. We see here we haven't done any trades as yet, so total P&L 0, no positions on. Currently stock market I've been watching since 9 o'clock, we're currently at 9:36 New York time. Looking at a possible long entry, but as yet we haven't done anything, so it's just a question of waiting and seeing. I mean, as I did on Friday, I will rather than post the whole 2.5 hours of my trading when there's a lot of just sitting around, I'll stop and start, and then sort of post this sort of shorter version onto YouTube. But you will see all the trades, and you'll be able to cross-reference that to the profit and loss statement that's posted to the website. So at the moment we're just waiting. Again, as usual, just trading the one contract in the RBOB. Looking at it, a possible long looks to me as if you might get an opportunity here. I've put buy stop limit in at 74.48, so we need it to trade above 48, and then we'll have a limit at 48. You see we did get fairly close, and then we've backed off. I mean, that's fine. All that that sort of movement helps build fuel for the momentum. Should we get above it, so, the sort of the ratcheting up and down within a sort of specific price range. If we sort of break to if we go to the, as I mentioned on Friday, if we sort of start trading too far below where my stop would be if we got long, then I'll let the trade go. Well, there's no long trade. Okay, we've traded above. We've got the order in at 48. No fill. We probably okay. Let's just wait and see if we get filled here. Okay, we're filled. We're long one. I'll just change this to I like it to show it in ticks, just to show where we're at. On the initial surge up through 48, possibly I shouldn't actually be in this trade. For a scalp, I mean, I've got this set up. I would be sort of looking just for a quick sort of scalp. It's not. We're approaching the stop loss now, so I'm just going to watch this. But we sort of went through it and came back quite quickly. We didn't trade, very much above it, and we came back very quickly. Now, this is the sort of moment sometimes where you're in a trade, you've been down to approach your stop, it's getting back up to your break even. It's so easy just to think, oh, okay, I'll get out. But I think now the way we've sort of bounced back, we're back up towards the entry point. There's actually potential here, rather than the scalp sort of 50 ticks. We might be able to. This might be one where I can sort of drag it out for a little bit more. So at the moment we're just slightly 8 ticks offside at the moment, so it's just a question of waiting. We've got the stop in place. mean, just looking at the numbers, it wouldn't have got to the sort of on the initial surge through where the stop would have moved. But we haven't really we haven't gone too far above the entry price yet. So I'm just going to drag the stop up slightly. See there, I've just dragged it up. And if it looks as if we are going to get a decent momentum, I'll move the target a bit higher. You see, I mean, the spread's quite wide, and sort of sometimes from trade to trade it can be quite several ticks. Obviously that means on stops you run the risk of getting slipped for 7 to 10 ticks maybe, depending on what the spread is. Okay, let's move this higher. I think this trade could actually develop more into a sort of what I call a trend change, and we could actually run this for quite a bit further, possibly up above 76. I mean, when you move, it seems that we're quite a way from the market with that take profit, but the RBOB can move very, very quickly. It can cover a lot of ground in a short space of time, and when you're manually adjusting stops and targets, it's nice just to have it set somewhere in case you get I call it a zinger. It's where it just shoots up, and before you can react, it's shot up, it might have hit your profit target, and it's back down 30 or 40 ticks before you've even done anything. So we're at the level where if we'd kept this just as a sort of a scalp trade at 51 ticks, we would be out. But as I say, we seem to be we're holding up here, so let's give it a bit more room. Just adjust that slightly. So now the stop, okay, it's allowing for slippage. It's you get a few ticks out of it, if anything, I would have thought, but no, it's just the the trader's patience, I guess, sitting on hands. It's going to work one way. Trades are going to work, and we're going to get a bit more than the 50 odd ticks out of it, or it's going to come back and give us 10 ticks or so. But if my sort of analysis is correct, and we're actually going to get an extended move higher, then we could see 150, 170, 200 ticks. I have seen them sort of go for 300 ticks before. Before you get a sort of a reason to get out. Not saying that I would hold it for that long. I'm just saying that's the sort of potential. And it's important to, when you do your metrics, just to keep a track of what you are getting out of a particular move. You're never going to get in at the bottom. Well, okay, I'll say never. Once in very, very occasionally you might hit the bottom tick like you might hit the top tick, but that's that's not going to happen regularly. So you're never going to get in near the bottom of the move, and you're never going to get in at the top, get out at the top. So your sort of job is to see what percentage of the chunk in the middle that you make. If you can sort of get around about 75% of the move, then I think you're doing well. So if So from where you get in at, if the maximum favourable excursion was 100 ticks and you get out at 75 and it never goes back above the 100, then you've done well. You've got 75% of the potential move, so that's okay. So we're up 70 odd ticks at the moment, so we're a little bit further than the 50 odd that we would have taken. Obviously we're not out of the trade yet, so that's going to change. It could, as I say, could come all the way back down, but we have to, as with any market, you have to let it breathe. You have to let it do its rotations up and down. It's very easy to get an itchy trigger finger and click, get out of the market. And most times you'll find as soon as you've done that, let's say we're 80 ticks now, it comes back to say 50 ticks, which is where we were sort of possibly going to get out. It's easy to sort of click it and think, okay, well I'll take it because that's what we would have got, and then it immediately reverses and goes 150 ticks. So it's just a question of watching the sort of I'm not watching. I'll drag the dome up in one sec, but I can see just by looking at the ticks changing at the top, I can see how sort of quickly and in which direction the actual sort of market's moving. I don't specifically need to see the latest prices, although I will I will adjust that. I will drag the dome up. It's just I've got it sort of here, and it's easy for me to if I want to drag my stop up from this point, I've got the dome already here. So I think we sort of saw it up at around about 80 odd ticks, 84, 85 maybe, and then back sort of down to the 50ish. Obviously I'd like to, when you're watching whether you're watching the dome or ticks sort of fluctuating up and down, it's I like to see which way it's moving, but also the sort of velocity of how quickly it moves out of an area. Does it stay in an area for a particular length of time and chop around, or is it a sort of a very swift rejection? So we've been in this trade about 10 minutes or so far. Okay, let's just drag the stop a bit higher. Hopefully we can start getting some good momentum here. It does look as if we're in a decent sort of upsurge. Still a way to go till the target, of course. That target can be adjusted higher as and when, if should we get close to it. I'll just keep an eye on the market here. If we need to adjust the stop, she'll bring the stop higher just to sort of lock a bit more in as we get closer to the target. dragging, I mean, trailing stops and profit targets and things, I mean, there is a certain amount of touchy feel to it, I guess. You want to, I want to stay in the trade here. I want to stay long. I don't want to just get out of the trade for the sake of getting out of the trade. But knowing how quickly things can move, I do. We've had a decent move here. I want to get something out of it, of course. Obviously, I mean, initially, we were thinking maybe getting 50 odd, 50 ticks, 51 ticks, 50 ticks or so. So we're double that at the moment. Should we get out? But I still think we can get some more. So it's just that question of just trying to finesse it a little bit, using your experience, using your judgment. How does the market how is it behaving? How is what are the rotations like, as we've seen over these last sort of few videos, these last 2 or 3 days. Quite often we get in a trade, or we're in a trade, and the market can come very close to where our stop is and not actually go through it, and that's I guess that's just down to my experience, my sort of knowledge of what I'm looking at. Obviously, when you get stopped out, you get stopped out. You just that's just the way it happens. But if it goes through my stop by a tick and then reverses, then so be it. But I think we have seen quite some good examples over these last few videos that this market can come. We've sort of got the stops in positions where it's keeping us in a trade to try and maximize the opportunity. And when we have been stopped out, it's probably carried on in that direction. It's not from memory, we haven't been stopped and it's immediately reversed. So okay, so we're just approaching the 76 level. It'd be nice to sort of get it through the 76 and hold above it. I mean, if it goes through 76 and comes back sort of immediately, that might be a bit of a concern. We'll just have to see how it reacts up here. So we're about 30 odd ticks away from from where we want to. Well, I'd be sort of 25 ticks now. 20. Okay, I'll just drag this higher at this sort of 76. I think 06 might have been the high. Not quite sure what was printed. Backing off slightly. Okay, let's see if we can get through it again. No, it didn't. Okay, I've just dragged up the. We're sort of probably about 20 ticks or so off roughly what I think the high was. I'll have to check, but just from looking at the dome, I think it was about 06 from memory. In this particular sort of upsurge, not the overall high. Okay, we're potentially getting stopped here. Got to stop at 86. Might get a okay. Got a couple of ticks slippage there. Let's see what happens. So we've got 136 ticks out of it. So obviously that's that's not bad. We're initially starting maybe to look at getting 50. So just the P&L be $571. That's before $5.24 commission. Okay, so I will pause the video in a moment. We're in that trade for about 15 minutes, and we'll just wait for the next one. Hey traders, I'm back. Okay, still just that one trade we did. Sorry, I thought there was a little bit of dead time after I stopped talking on the previous trade. I thought I'd pressed pause, but I hadn't. So okay, so now we're we're just that one trade. I mean, just looking back at the numbers, I mean, we actually made, we got 136 ticks out of it, and the maximum favourable extension was 156. So it's 87% of the move, which was pretty good. Just around about, as we can see from the clock, it's sort of 10:40ish New York time. Looking at a possible short trade. So that one trade so far this morning was a winner, $570 odd. We're in the trade for about 15 minutes. I don't, some trades you're in for several minutes, potentially longer, an hour, whatever. I mean, the time sort of concept doesn't bother me at all. Well, I don't have a sort of a specific time stop as such. If we're in the trade, we're in the trade until the stop or the target, or there's a reason to get out of the trade. I don't sort of have time as one of my reasons. Okay, I'm just getting a little bit of a push high here now. This is slightly different. Obviously, a lot of my trades, or 99%, are sort of what I call going with the momentum. Not particularly fading not looking at a level to sort of fade. I do it, as we saw, I think it was last Thursday or so. I'm just sort of looking to see if we get a little move higher here, and then we sort of look as if we're going to stall, and then I can get into a short rather than I don't necessarily have to wait for the down move. I've just changing the bracket I'm using. I've got an oil bracket I use that has a stop of 12 ticks. It's just easier for me to input that and then adjust the stop because it's on the same screen rather than scroll up. Okay, we've got an order in at 13. Just sell. Okay, we're filled. We're out. Something's happened. So we're immediately out of the trade. So we're flat, we can see that. Looks like my dome has frozen. Okay, looking at the clock on the lower right hand side of the chart box where the green square is, everything's working fine in terms of the my charting. We can see that the charting is obviously the last trade up there, 75.22. My dome is 29 now. The last trade, so my dome is frozen at 20. 13 is the last trade. It's actually where I sold it at. I had a stop of 10 ticks, but now I have a rule that okay, so we are flat. I'll just check. The P&L. I think we're just looking at my my broker here. So we actually got. By the time we got out, we've got 10 tick slippage. Basically, we're out at 33. That should be 400 and something odd. But as we see, the dome is still frozen, whilst the chart is still we're up at 47 trading. That's annoying to say the least. It's not the fact I got stopped out. I deserve to get stopped out, and that's the slippage. It's nothing to do with the actual freezing. I mean, that's just that happens. But let's see if this is adjusted. Okay, that's adjusted now. The adjusted P&L 487. That's correct. And now my dome still not caught up. Okay, it's caught up now, but okay. I mean, I have a rule. Basically, I think if I have an internet outage, then I don't. Even if it comes back, I don't trade anymore. I mean, this wasn't the internet because we could see the chart still updating. This is a problem with my broker and the platform, the dome here, not the charting platform. But that's why you should always have at least 2, ideally 3 different brokers online and available to trade with should you need to. But one of my sort of unwritten, or written in fact, in my plan safety rules is if I have an issue with the internet and it comes, let's say it goes off for a few seconds and comes back, then I'll just stop trading because I think it's going to happen again. Same with the broker. I get out, I flatten any positions, and basically I'm done for the day now with with this particular broker. I'm not sure if that's due to this recording software loading up my computer. I don't think it is. I've been looking at it's only on a trial, this software, but it hasn't been causing too much extra resources, otherwise I wouldn't use it. So okay, basically we're flat for the day, no position, $487 up, 2 trades, and just for safety's sake I'm actually going to stop trading there. So enjoy the rest of the day. Cheers.